So Praveen would be showcasing a presentation about different topics that he has in mind that he wants to share about building communities. But we'll be taking up questions like in between. So we wouldn't have like a proper dedicated Q&A session at the last. We would have to take up some questions, but we'll be taking up questions in between as well. So during the presentation, if you have any questions, Lakshman would be sharing a link in the chat, which is a Google form sort of link wherein you can put in your information on what questions you want to ask. And I'll be taking up that question and I'll be asking Praveen the same. And I'll be, taking up the names as well. So if you have any follow-up questions, you can ask those as well. Okay. So I would ask Lakshman to share the link. I think it's posted now. Please use this link to ask questions, because if you ask questions one by one on the chat, it's very difficult for us to go through all the questions. So I think it would be great if you could use this as the option to ask your question. Okay, so I would actually share my screen to showcase something exciting that we are doing. And I would like all of you to register for the same. It's an event. Praveen, I would just request you to stop sharing for 1 minute, please. Yeah, thank you. I hope everybody can see my screen. Yeah, so it's an event that we are doing. It's called B2B Binge by Amplis. So what the event is all about is basically we are gonna have, it's a community event that we are doing. So what a community event means is basically it is for everybody to join in and contribute and make that event possible. So starting from the nomination of the speakers, of who you want to nominate, who you want to listen to, and what kind of questions you want to ask, etc. Everything would be done from the audience side. So we'll just give you the topics and you can nominate people in the topics. So there will be 12 power pack sessions. There will be around 15 speakers and 600 attendees will be joining in. We still haven't got the date confirmed yet. So it will be around 28th or 29th of this month, April. And it will be from 10 a.m. EST to 2:30 p.m. EST. So the sessions would be around 5 to 10 minutes each. So who is this event for? Is for B2B sales professionals, marketers, growth marketers, entrepreneurs, recruiters, trainers. Anybody in B2B space can actually join the event. So these are some of the sessions that we have. Like starting with how you can start a B2B business today. What does a product-led growth fit with B2B marketing and sales, personal branding, inbound in the sea of sameness, outbound, etc. So there are different things that we are covering in the 3 sessions that we have divided, 3 segments. And each session would be, as I said, 5 to 10 minutes and then followed by a 10 minutes Q&A session. So the speakers who have been confirmed till now are Vaibhav and Morgan Ingram. And the other speakers are yet to be nominated. So you can actually register, go to this link, register here and nominate your own speakers. So I would actually ask Lakshman to share the link with you so that you can nominate the speakers and you can attend the event as well.
यही है देवजानी, बड़ी प्यारी है, बहुत प्यारी बात करती है.
I would request all of you to actually mute yourselves if you can, please do that. And Praveen, I think we are good to go. We have around 50 participants. We can start the event. Yeah.
Cool. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So I would get started. I have put in a lot of content for you guys. So I think let's keep it interactive and I'll kind of run through the content, but if you have any questions or anything that you want to discuss in detail, we can again go back and do it. Okay. So first and foremost, I'm like I mentioned, we have been doing Social Hub. So I'll just give a quick background of what we do. So pretty much, just like I said, all of you use Facebook or different other social platforms like LinkedIn and all. So what we're doing is we're giving our platform, which we have built for private brands. Like for example, Google wants to have its own private network, they can have it. Or let's say college might want to have their private network, they can. So this way there is a lot of scope in terms of communities, because everyone, including a lot of you on the call as well, are looking at different things. So I would kind of just give a quick demo as well a bit later, but pretty much that's what we do. So my journey in the last 12 years, pretty much I've worked across the spectrum from technology to the business side. I went to my B schooling in entrepreneurship in Babson and undergrad in mechanical. here in India. And I was fortunate enough to work across close to 7 industries. So I've seen the whole spectrum, right from startups, SMEs, franchisees, nonprofits to, MNCs, right? And, I used to consult for startups and incubators, and I also teach. I'm a visiting professor on lean startups at SIPM. So that's a very quick thing about me, but I'll kind of jump into it, right? Because the topic for the day is more about why communities now, right? Because all of you might have very different perceptions about communities, right? Some of you might think this is not relevant for me. Some of you might think, hey, this is the next big thing happening, right? So I thought I'll kind of help you understand what communities are and what's the whole story about, right? So first and foremost, a lot of you think that communities is something that might not be relevant, but when you go back and look at what you use, right? You might be part of a WhatsApp group. You might be part of a Facebook group, right? You might be part of your family groups, right? There's so many places, or your company groups. So what's happening is there are a lot of places where things are kind of collaboration is going on, and all these are communities. Without your knowledge, from the morning till the night, you actually engage in a lot of communities, right? So off late, like with COVID and all this happening, there has been a very significant shift in which how the way communities are actually running, right? So let's go through like some of the trends, what's happening around COVID, right? If you look at just the last 1 to 2 months, right? You see that the kind of surge that all these websites have taken, this shows that Facebook, Netflix, YouTube, or you look at any other platform for that matter, right? There's a huge surge of usage. So a lot of people are kind of looking at social and content as the way to go. So all these are some of the trends. The reason I'm telling you all this is because if you actually start understanding the trends, you would be one of those guys who will be the early movers in terms of taking a lot of good decisions, right? And similarly, when you look at the engagement front, the same is a use case, like Google Duo or Nextdoor, House Party, all these are kind of like video kind of tools or collaboration tools, right? You again see a huge surge in daily traffic. So same is the case, like, take Zoom, Google Classroom. And if you guys haven't read the news today, Zoom's competitor, BlueJeans, they got acquired for $500 million today, right? So a lot of things is happening on the online collaboration, engagement, and bringing people together space. So what does all this mean for you? Most of the economies are tanking. A lot of people are getting laid off. A lot of things are actually, in a bad shape. But I think it's not the time to panic. For a lot of businesses, it's a time to reinvent and accelerate. Because when everyone is keeping their guard down, or people are kind of just going slow, if you are one of those companies who actually can accelerate by building up the right things and going with the trends, there's a huge potential around it, right? So let's go a bit into the detail of each of these, right? So when you look at each of them, I mean, not in any specific order, but when you look at each of them, I kind of categorize things into 4 different waves, right? First and foremost, let's talk about like the social wave. Like, back in early 2000s and all, right? When you had Facebooks, LinkedIn's and all these coming in, people started to actually go online, interact socially, connect with a lot of new people that they never had. So that was one time of space when a lot of engagement started happening. People started discovering and going through things. Then there came an engagement wave, right? Because still, like, going to Facebook and all, still it was a relatively new phenomenon, but they continued to grow. But in the meantime, there was not much of collaboration. Like, you go to Facebook and, see somebody's feed and like it and comment, and that's it. But when you started looking at platforms like WhatsApp, Slack, and all these kind of coming in, what happened is people started engaging in groups, right? Like me adding all 50 of you or 100 of you in this group is very quick, and I can chat just like, in a minute. And that is where these were the next set of things, engagement stuff happened over here. And then, it went to the next level. Like when you looked at the likes of Paytm, PhonePe and all, big transactional waves has started happening in digital payments, right? Because when you look at it, people were very scared to pay online. But with Paytm and all, even a lot of small businesses, freelancers, individual vendors also started collecting payments on Paytm. So this way, that whole transactional wave and that, that wave kind of made everyone very comfortable with making payments online or taking payments online, right? Now, given that all these trends have happened, right? People are now kind of used to all these things individually. Now, what I'm expecting or what I'm envisioning is there would be an integrated digital transformation wave now, right? Because now they want all these things together in one platform, right? How can you bring everyone together? I think like, probably some of them should mute, I guess, or like, yeah. I think probably the Bharat, you can mute all of them, I believe.
Yeah, sure. I'll do that.
So basically, that is where what I visualize is integrated digital transformation wave. I mean, it sounds complicated, but it's pretty simple. Like think that, you know, you can bring your whole community together and monetize it, right? There's a huge potential to monetize. So till now, most of you might be thinking building communities is just an engagement exercise or just a, you know, a social exercise. We would actually be going to the next level and talking about how do we monetize as well. But first I'll kind of cover in terms of how you build communities, and then we'll talk about how do you monetize communities as well. Okay, so any of you have any questions, just post it to Devarati and she can, you know, get back on that. So yeah, this is where, like, you know, these are some of the community platforms. If you guys are kind of still, you know, trying to visualize, right? All of you might be going to meet up groups or use Yammer or Facebook for workplace and all these for your social things, or Slack for collaboration, right? So all these are different tools used by different people, and there's not just this basic list. There are hundreds and hundreds of tools out there in the market where you can actually go build communities. So it's a big decision as well in terms of how do you go and pick a community platform. So a lot of you might be thinking about, hey, should I go with a branded platform of my own where I have more control, or should I just go do it on Facebook, LinkedIn, but I don't control anything over there, right? So that's a big question a lot of them have. And as businesses, there's a blended model around it that I would recommend. We would kind of discuss on that further. But before that, I wanted to just help you understand the bigger context, like, you know, what happens in the trends in the community space, right? So undoubtedly, like, the world is moving towards private communities because there was time in the last 10 years when you looked at it, most of them actually built groups on Facebook, groups on LinkedIn and all. But in due course of time, there has been a lot of data leakages. There has been a lot of issues in the market, right? Around privacy. You don't have access to your own data. You don't have access to analytics. So, and you don't have access to more functionality. Like, for example, you want to launch, let's say, you know, a new model of business around it. You know, Facebook would not allow you to do that, right? And that is where most of the social platforms have been kind of limiting in their own way. So, and secondly, like, you know, a lot of people who are running these communities, they struggle because at the end of the day, they go make sure that people engage in a group, and then they go to emails and send them a newsletter, and then they look at metrics somewhere else, they take payment somewhere else. So what's happening is this whole communities as an ecosystem is broken and disconnected. And this is one of the things that we are looking at solving as well from our end, right? So, but in general, if you look at market numbers and all, 85 branded community platforms actually prefer these things, because obviously, if you're a big brand, you don't want to engage them on WhatsApp groups or a Facebook group and, you know, just keep it over there. You want to actually have your privacy and take it forward, right? So one of the important thing that I want all of you to understand is this one simple pattern, right? Whenever you are looking at how the future will shape up, look at this one small statement, right? Think through this. Brands and businesses follow human interaction patterns. So whenever you see how people are flowing, right? The whole technology flows around it. Like, you know, suddenly Zoom has become a very big company because people want to go social, right? Or, you know, AirMeet has come up. There's so many other platforms that are coming up. Suddenly Swiggy got into, you know, giving out grocery and all, because now they're seeing all these kind of stuff. So in 90s, what happened was offline engagement was a big deal. In 2000s, it was more of e-commerce, and, you know, buying online was the habit that built out. Yogesh, I think you need to just mute yourself. Yeah. Yeah. And in 2010 and all, pretty much you started seeing the emerging of like social networks getting really big. Social networks getting really big, and even digital commerce, right? Online commerce was more of just going to Amazon and buying stuff. Digital commerce is buying an ebook online, taking a subscription online. That were the trends. And now people are kind of even used to this. Now what people are looking at is, and all this is not my data, it's based on internet. So I'm just sharing it here, right? The trends are more around private networks, data privacy, and network commerce. So private networks, I think you might understand. Data privacy, you do. Network commerce is more of how do you even monetize your community members? Like, for example, you know, you have access to some special content and you want to monetize your content. Or you want to, you know, run a jobs board and you want to monetize your jobs board with your community. So it's like adding your payments layer, because till now, most of the people who run networks have been doing it on a non-profit or social service kind of model. But a lot of you can actually go and even monetize. So there's a lot of taboo around it, but you know, we can discuss around how to do it. So this social media will continue to backlash. A lot of people will try to make money. Instead of bigger events, a lot of smaller events will happen. A lot of tech will be built. So all these are like some of the common trends. I'll share all these slides with Devarati so she can mail all of you. So don't worry about any of these. Right? And you see similar trends even with LinkedIn and Facebook and all, right? In the last 1 year, if you look at the news, even LinkedIn wants to go behind groups. Facebook wants to go behind groups. So I'm just telling you all this so that you understand, like, communities is actually like one of the trends that's really coming up. that a lot of people can capitalize on. India is still very new in terms of this space. Globally, it's a much more mature market. But in India, it's a tremendous space to actually pick up because a lot of people are still not doing it well enough. So let's discuss on how can you leverage communities. I think this is the actual context of the presentation. So I think all of you look at community as just a group building exercise, right? Now let's think in a very different direction. Think like it's another marketing channel. All of you as companies, you might have done social media marketing, content marketing, inbound marketing, right? Email marketing, like so many marketing kind of variations. But typically a lot of them actually don't look at community as a marketing channel. So off late, like you see a lot of marketers actually allocating some budgets to even build communities around marketing. And like one of the early adopters around it was OnePlus. I think a lot of you know OnePlus or Xiaomi as well, right? All these guys actually went and said, hey, we want to drive loyalty, and it's a very niche thing. Like, you know, OnePlus has an invite system when they launched in 2014, and they said only our community gets the first set of invites. And that way they created a lot of hype around community, and then, you know, they got them on board. And even if you look at Xiaomi, MI phones, right? Or that MI whole ecosystem, they have their own app, they have their own community, they take feedback of the new features, they give them special offers. So what, if you take MI or OnePlus and all these have done is, they basically built a very loyal fan base. So think of community as a loyal fan base that you have, where they are not thinking just like a transaction with you. They're even socially connected with you, emotionally connected with you and your brand. So that's a great exercise to do. So don't think that community building is just an overnight exercise that, you know, people just go ahead and, you know, tomorrow morning you'll build the community. It's a very long-term exercise, but when you do it, you start seeing results very well. Like, you know, the retention rates would be much higher than a typical average company out there without communities, right? So I hope all of you understand this funnel, the standard marketing funnel. So what I did is I gave links for all the things I'm talking about. So if you guys want to go check it out, you can go read in detail. I don't want to kind of cover everything over here in the interest of time. Okay. So when you look at this marketing funnel, right now, let's say, let's take OnePlus itself as an example. Now OnePlus wants to get a lot of people to website or know about OnePlus. So what they did is they made an invite system with a sharing system. So I can refer a friend and I can in the list, I refer a friend and I become like, you know, 1500. So that way what they did is they started building a whole viral system around communities where people wanted to share around each other and have a common sense of purpose. That way they did a lot of marketing through all of them. So don't think this is anything different from your regular marketing. It's a blended tactic along with the rest of the marketing. So that way they did that. And after people came in, they started looking at, hey, what is OnePlus? And then these guys said, hey, we are like one of the best phones out in the market. Why don't you check it out? Like look at our configuration and all that. And that's when they started bringing them in. And once people started using it, the product was really good. And that's when the loyalty started building up. And then they kept on pushing a lot of things to the community before somebody else. Like, you know, for example, I'll give my community 20% discount and rest of the world, I'll give 10% discount, right? So if you start doing tactics like this, a lot of them would actually feel that, hey, I should be part of this group. I should be, you know, part of this community and take that value that I'm getting, right? And then in due course of time, if they really like what you do and the engagement that you do, they feel it's a quality place, a quality brand, and they become your advocates, right? They become your advocates in terms of going and saying, hey, you know, OnePlus is a very cool phone. Why don't you check it out? They have a very cool community. Why don't you go join it, right? So all this kind of happen back to back. So when we go to these things, right, I'll just focus on the business communities because I know, like, you know, all of you are focused on looking at how to engage and monetize business communities. So today I'll kind of take you through 3 major cases around business communities, right? I'll talk about each of them in a bit detail and then we'll go into the steps. So first and foremost, all of you might be comfortable with internal communities, right? Each of you might be working in different organizations. Internal communities are more like enterprise communities. Think of it like that, right? You have your own company, like SoShop. Let's say, you know, now we have like 10 members, but let's say I have 100 employees. I build an internal community just for my 100 employees so that we can, you know, collaborate, chat, engage with each other, browse each other, share stuff. So that is more an example of internal community, right? And then off late, what you see is the other part. External communities is something that most of you might not be familiar. External communities happens a lot in terms of whenever you look at these marketing communities, right? Or online communities. I think I'll kind of take you through each of them, right? So when you look at marketing or brand external, like let's say all of you guys like hiking and you are a travel company. I'm sorry. You're a travel company and all of you like hiking. And let's say you want to monetize and on a weekly basis do a lot of hiking trips. So what you can do is you can build a whole community with external guys who are not part of your team, but they like you and they like your travel agency and they want to connect with you, right? So for external brand external, there are a number of use cases because you can get your customers and partners together. You can source feedback, right? Like for example, let's talk about each of them probably. That'll help you understand better. If you want to, let's say customers and partners, let's say you are a hardware company and you have customers and partners who will integrate for you, right? Or, help you sell your solutions even in those places. You might actually want to, create a private network around each of them and share everything, that knowledge base, the eminence around it, your contacts, and all the know-how around it. Or you can go for ongoing feedback. So the interesting thing is, a lot of MI phones. So MI and OnePlus, what they do is they take feedback from their community before launching new products, right? Now imagine if you can actually get feedback from your customers who will buy your products. That's such a powerful use case for all of you, right? Because now your people are using your product and they say that, hey, I don't like the display, I don't like the camera, I have this problem. Then what you can do, you can actually work on that and do it in a better fashion. So a lot of organizations of late are even using their community to source ongoing feedback, because otherwise you might be doing a lot of email marketing, social media marketing and all, but typically you don't get responses for that, right? It's a one-way engagement. With communities, it's a two-way engagement where they know you. When you ping, they'll respond to you. They'll help out with whatever you ask for, right? Because it's a more social, it's more like almost building a friendship with a brand. That is where feedback is much more successful in communities with who are actually using a community-driven strategy, right? And thirdly, what you can do is you can drive targeted marketing, right? Like let's say, MI is launching phones or OnePlus is launching phones every 6 months or 1 year, right? Whenever you're launching marketing, imagine you have a 1 million community. Now, in one single shot, you're reaching 1 million people with zero marketing budget, right? That is the power of what good communities are. And you'll have higher sales in this channel versus someone else because they know you, they like you, and they're looking forward for your next product. That is the reason if you nurture your communities well, you can actually do a lot of targeted marketing where they don't even feel like you're marketing to them. They feel, right? So you can use it in that fashion. And the next one is around customer experience. Like, a lot of you might even be building tools where you might have, let's say 500 customers, 1,000 customers. And now they're looking at, giving feedback, but they don't know, like a lot of times, you have like, let's say 10-member team, you can't go support every customer. But imagine you put a forum and a community where people answer between each other. Like, I go post and let's say, Varun goes and answers it saying that, hey, Praveen, you should actually, do this way, right? Then they actually start engaging with each other and they also feel that kind of community experience, right? And lastly, like, it could be sharing knowledge. A lot of you might be building complex products and you might want to actually share knowledge with your stakeholders. So people also use community platforms to do all this. So a lot of these things are not typically possible on existing social networks, but most of private community tools actually give you that kind of value. And the third case that I want to talk about is more of online interest affiliation ones, right? These are more like, it could be individuals, like, I could be a movie star and I want to build a community. Or it could be like, we run an alumni association for our college. Or let's say in the city that I live in, all the music guys want to kind of connect and, have a community. So this way it could be around interest groups, affiliations and all. So as brands, you can build around it. I'll give you a small example. Like, let's say all of you, like organic products. And I go and say that, hey, I have an organic brand, but I'll also build a community around organic products. Now, what happens is a lot of them actually, and in the community, you can go and actually say that, hey, we'll tell you how to go about buying organic products, how to identify good organic products, right? What are some of the things that you should know about organic things? What are the health values? When I'm starting to tell all this, right, people are actually connecting with your data. They start thinking that you are a leader in your space, that you understand organic and you're selling organic. That is very important. Like, for example, even you take my use case itself, right? If I can talk really well about communities, a lot of people will have more trust in SocialHub, like other product that I'm kind of putting across, right? So this is just one example. So just take our use case. What could be a good use case? Let's say community managers across the globe are there. Now imagine I build a community for all community managers, right? That can be a great use case for us to also kind of engage on SocialHub or tell them that, we really understand communities as a space, right? So that's a great way to keep your guys engaged. So we'll talk about these use cases. I hope all of you guys are clear till now. before I actually dive into 7 steps. I kind of made it in a step-by-step fashion because I know, like, building communities could be a very random exercise and all of you might be confused. So I started putting it like a 7-step exercise. So any quick questions until here? I know I have been like talking pretty quick because I wanted to kind of cover a lot of things, but yeah.
No, so Praveen, actually, we have a question from Shubham, which I think you would be covering in your later slides. It's like, what will be the initial steps of community building
Got
for my own brand virtually, especially during this pandemic?
it. Got it. Okay, fair enough. Yeah.
Praveen, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Can you share me the case one? Like, can you repeat once again if you don't mind?
Which one?
In the case one. I mean, case
Okay.
two, like external.
Okay, I'll do that. Not a problem at all. Sorry, yeah. No, case one is more of enterprise internal. Like, think of all the companies out there in the market, right? For HRs, one of the biggest problem for HRs is more around like, hey, how do I retain my employees, or how do I share information? Like, let's say, you have a company and you have cracked 50 exclusive deals for your employees. You might want to share with them and give a space for them, or you want to make them chat among each other or share all the company news with them, right? As of today, what you do is you send emails or you do, online events or offline events, right? Where they just meet each other, but there is not that ongoing connectivity. So at the max, people use Slack and all these collaboration tools. The thing with these collaboration tools is there's just good for chatting, right? They want to just chat with each other and get the work done, but there is no social aspect to it. Imagine like you want to, have an internal jobs board. A Slack will not have that, right? Where they can refer for you. Or let's say you want to actually have an internal content management system. Slack doesn't have that, right? So a lot of—
What do you mean by when socially in
Socially, as in, one of the thing is, one of the biggest challenge of HR is how do you make your employees engaged with each other? It's not just within your team, but as an organization, right? There's a lot of loyalty that builds when they associate with the brand, the vision, and they also get to know a lot of people in the company because they start feeling that ownership. Otherwise, what happens is they just know 3 people in the company. They don't know somebody else in some other team. They're like, okay, I don't feel any association. I'll move out of this company as well sometime. But typically the retention rates are high when they engage a lot. That's why Yammer and all these are very big companies in this space. Workplace for Facebook, Yammer. Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I'll take as many examples as possible, guys. So I know, like, for some of you, it might be very easy. For some of you, it might be very new, but I'll do my best to keep it very simple for you. Right. Let me actually move on to the next thing. If you have any questions, keep pushing into the Google Doc, the Google form, and I'll answer all of them, each one of them. So let's get into the next part, which is 7 steps. Now, let's say all of you now understand what are the community trends, what's going to happen, and you understand what are the types of communities you can build. Now you need to think about what is relevant for your use case. So from here, I think I want each of you to actually start thinking like you are doing your own exercise for your own community. Right? Each of you might have a community in mind that you want to monetize. So start thinking in those lines, you'll connect really well from that front. Like you could be part of a college, you could be part of a company, you could be part of like, you want to organize your customers, you want to organize your partners, or you want to actually start, monetizing. Let's say somebody wants to build a women network, right? So start thinking about each of your use cases and go through these 7 steps. You'll kind of get a better sense of it, right? I have given links for really good case studies for each of them, but I would not go deep into it. Once we finish the presentation, we'll kind of come back. If you guys want me to go through and explain some of these examples, I'm more than happy to do. But at a higher level, I want to tell you the 7 steps so that you understand the steps in a synchronized flow without like deviating too much into like other nitty-gritties, because this is more about the actual actionable things. I try to focus more on things that you can act on. Instead of just giving you random GAM, I want to kind of give you a clear-cut strategy around how do you go about it. So first and foremost, right, whenever you're building communities, right, don't be aggressive. I really want you to think that it's a very long-term exercise. Let's say it takes 6 months, 1 year, or 2 years, or 3 years. Because what happens is, think about, making friends. Let's say, forget the word communities. Now, let's say you go to a new city and you want to make friends with people, right? How do you go about it? You first try to build good relationships with, let's say, 5 or 10 people. Why is that? Because you first want to build a base around that, right? You want some people to know you really well. You want some people to, come out to a movie when you want them to, right? So community is very similar to that. It's like, building friendships with rest of the people in your community. That is where a lot of people really think that, hey, I should go build a 1,000-member community, 10,000-member community, 50,000-member community. it really doesn't serve the purpose. A lot of times what you should do is you should first think about what is the kind of community you want. You should have your vision. I think one of you should mute yourself. Go when next.
I'm really sorry. I think somebody is unmuted. Please, can you mute yourself?
Yeah,
Sir?
they did.
Thank you. Thank you.
So cool. So now that all of you guys, like 1 month, 3 months, you'll start seeing community results. What you can do is, first and foremost, most of the communities fail here, right? They don't have clarity on what they want to do. They want to just get people together. Like, let's say, let's say, let's take the organic example, like I said, right? If you don't know why are you building, let's say 100,000 customers around organic, you don't know what to do with them, then you're going to make it a disaster, because there'll be a lot of people who will come spam, and others will come and see, hey, they feel that there's a worthless place and they'll go away. And instead of loving your brand, they'll start hating your brand. So it's a very dicey exercise. So anybody who's actually building communities, it has to be a consistent community exercise, because it's just like your relationships, right? Like with your family and all. If you maintain a consistent relationship, they tend to get closer. If you distance away, then people tend to. Same is the case with brand. Think about your brand in similar lines. So what you should do is the first step is when you go back after this thing, go and actually chart out what is the vision and goal of your community. Let's say you want to make it like the best place for people to know about organic information, and as a result of it, they might want to buy your organic products, right? Or you might want to say that, hey, we want to really make people very knowledgeable around organic products. Or you might say that, hey, we want a lot of people to just connect with each other and feel like there's a place to be. All right, so it all depends on that. I'll just take the example below, like what Product Hunt is there below. I think some of you know Product Hunt, some of you might not. Product Hunt is a place where new products are listed. Any new product coming into the market, people go and launch it on Product Hunt. So when the founders of Product Hunt started off Product Hunt, they didn't create a group. They didn't create anything out there. They went and manually met 2,000 people. They literally went out and said that they meant all. So they divided their segments. They said, hey, I need startup founders. I need investors. I need journalists. I need these people on my community. Right? What I should do is they started 1-2 years before they actually launched the platform. They literally met each of them. I mean, this was much before. They got acquired by AngelList now. But they went and built relationships with all the 2,000 top guys in Silicon Valley. After they built a relationship, sorry, hey Arun, just mute yourself. So after that, pretty much. Sorry. Yeah. So basically, they define your visions and goals of your community, right? What do you want to do? Where do you want to grow? Like it could be even metric driven. It could be even vision driven. Right, so start putting that together. Let's say Product Hunt had a vision saying that they want to be the best product launching platform or product discovery platform. Right? That is the vision for them. And they might have their community goals saying that, hey, I want, let's say 1,000 people or 5,000 people or 10,000 people in this amount of time. Goal could be, let's say if 10% of them actually engage among each other on the platform, or let's say X number of people are active every day on the website. They actually start defining the goals around that, right? On what they want to achieve and how they want to achieve. And then, like I said, Product Hunt had its clarity in terms of segmenting it. Now let's take the organic example because all of you understand it. For you, your community could be corporates who might deliver organic stuff. It could be customers who like organic products and want to buy organic products. It could be critics or media guys who actually are big people vouching for, or influencers who are vouching a lot for organic products. Right? Or it could be even farmers if they can actually use platforms like this. So it depends from case to case, right? So that way you define your customer segments and you talk to each of them and you want to understand why they want to join a community, because there's so many groups, there's so many communities out there. Why should they come to your place, right? You need to really understand what is the deeper value proposition. And then you have to define your engagement strategy, which I'll kind of talk in the upcoming ones. But understand that first put pen to paper and start talking to people. Don't just go create groups. Don't just go create a lot of things without understanding these things, because within 2-3 days, you'll start seeing people leaving your group, right? So you have to do your fundamental homework. So this is your step one, right? So work on this when you get to your step one. And then what you do is after that, now let's say, you have created your cool organic communities plan. And now you want to kind of go ahead and say, hey, let me figure out how to execute on it, right? Here also, it's still in the planning stage. It's not on the execution stage. So what happens here is, it's very important to understand where do you want to build all this, right? picking the right platform and tools is very important. There are like close to 400 plus just community platforms, and collaboration platforms could be another 500 plus, right? So there's so many tools out there, and it's very difficult for you to understand which is the right thing for you. So even if you do a lot of research, you'll still be kind of confused. That is where it's important for you to do some initial groundwork to see what features do you want for your community. What are the future goals? That's the reason when you look at step one in terms of, hey, saying that in another 2 years, or let's say in 1 year down the line, I want to introduce a jobs board. You need to go back and now see whether your community platform can actually support a jobs board, right? If you don't do that, now let's say you come, take it up, for, you build a 10,000 member community, and then that platform doesn't have a jobs board, then you're royally kind of screwed, right? Because you feel that now I need to move them to another platform. Then you think that you need to move them to another platform. So having a vision is very important, so that when you assess, you'll see that, hey, I need all these tools. I need an event management thing. I need a jobs board. I need X, Y, Z. That is when you have to do your analysis, and you have to invest into the right platforms and tools. So this is where that's very important. So you need to pick the right platforms. So I'll kind of tell you a minor variation around it. Let me actually tell you one interesting case. A lot of you who still are not sure whether to use a community platform or not, right? I'll tell you a much easier hack about it. What you can do is to just test out, you can create. So what you can do is, a lot of them actually honestly don't need a private community platform where they pay a lot, right? But a lot of times even Facebook groups work, a lot of these things, right? So basically, you can start off with these social things as well. If you're very clear, you can even go for proper community tools. I mean, brands kind of typically look at private community tools. They don't typically do it on Facebook and all, but they only use Facebook or LinkedIn to do the initial thing. What is the initial thing? It's about the awareness part and the acquisition part. Because now let's say I'm running an e-commerce company around fashion, and a lot of my people are using, let's say, Facebook. A lot of my prospects are using Facebook. If I build it over there, a lot of them will join that fashion group. And from there, I can direct them to my private community group, right? So that way you can build bigger communities on social platforms, and then have a smaller community and targeted community, which is very highly engaging on your private platforms, right? So that is where it is. So what we will do over there is, first is, evaluate the platforms. If you're not clear, what you can do is for a month or so, use Facebook or WhatsApp or LinkedIn and all, and try to run your community. Because you'll also learn a lot, because tell them, like, don't invite all of them. Let's say you invite only 100 people or 200 people in your network who really know you, right? Tell them saying that, hey, I'm interested in building an organic food community, right? I just want to drive engagement. I'm still not clear, but I really want to have an active engagement and, make people feel connected and discuss about a lot of topics around organic and all. So that is where you go and, start it off. Take feedback from them. One of the best suggestion I can give you is, be humble and be shameless in asking people. Don't tell them that you know everything, right? Ask them what they want. Go take a poll, say that, hey, which is the next event you want, and give them, like, let's say 3 events, right? And you say, hey, pick one event, and we'll go ahead and pick the topic and we'll do that event, right? That way they feel very involved. One of the bigger part of bigger part of community engagement is making them involved. It's not about you being the expert pushing stuff out. It's about making them feel like, hey, you are one of us. Why don't you talk? Why don't you chat? Why don't you post? Why don't you, engage with us? Why don't you attend events? Why don't you be a speaker yourself? Right? So that way what happens is you're giving equal ownership. That is where, if you look at Reddit, right? Or a lot of you might know Reddit. Reddit, a lot of communities run by the community. So they don't have that many community managers to all that. So I can share a case study with you as well. But basically, a lot of people actually do decentralized stuff. So I'll kind of give you some more examples. And the second thing, what's very important here is picking the right platform. Picking the right team, right? Because first and foremost, a lot of people think, if I'm a HR or if I'm a marketer, I can run a community. Actually, that doesn't work that way, right? A marketer is good, but a HR is good, but there is a blend of skills that are typically needed for a community manager. Because community managers, which is a new role that's coming up, a lot of you might be very new to this role, and there's a huge shortage for community managers in the market, by the way. So community managers, so literally, like, if you take 91 Springboard, they literally set up their own training program for training community managers and hiring them, because 91 Springboard, which is a co-working space, they were scaling and they wanted community managers in each city. So they actually built out their own training program. So there is need for it, but at the same time, community managers are very social people who want to engage, people who love to talk and make others talk, right? Those are the typical traits that you find in community managers. So you need to hire a community manager to run a community platform. A marketer can probably do a basic level exercise, or HR can do, but ideally it's recommended that people who understand community engagement, or even the marketing guys and HR guys, or anyone else for that matter, they need to skill themselves around community management. After that, I think you will be very powerful, because now you can handle multiple functions and you can drive it, because you're thinking like a business guy, a marketer who wants to make money. At the same time, you're thinking like a community guy who's a very human-centric, social guy who's actually building relationships, right? So I just put a small case study for you guys that Moz is a pretty solid SEO tool in the market. So they talk about in the last 7 or 10 years, how did they go about building their community? Like, how do they do a lot of offline events, campus events, online events, right? How they post a lot of content and all that stuff. So you can check it out. It's a very interesting case study. So typically that is where you need to understand what are the people you need. But to give a very high level of the type of people you need for community platforms, definitely have somebody who will actually moderate, right? Let's say, a lot of people, first is marketing, right? People have to market and get people to join the platform. After people join in the platform, you have to make sure that the right people come in. So initially when you build it, keep it invite only, or keep it like, approval driven. Don't make it like open so that anybody can come and post any kind of stuff, right? It'll totally take the essence off. So even if it's a bigger pain, go look at the profiles, make sure that the right people are inside and they know the rules. It's not like, they do whatever they want to do, right? Because the moderator and the community manager is a bad guy, right? They have to be the bad guy along with being the good guy, because it's about the greater good of the community rather than 2-3 people who kind of mess up the whole platform. So you have to be strict around it. You have to set your guidelines. So you need somebody who will moderate. And after that, you need somebody who will engage, right? You see, you might be joining a lot of platforms. Do you just go and engage? You don't engage, right? Now imagine I come and ping you and say, hey, Varun, like, why don't you come and share your introduction? Then you'll kind of come forward and do it. Or I'll say, hey, Varun, why don't you come and post stuff, right? Or Debarati, why don't you come and, share this article? Then what happens is typically now I'm encouraging you to do stuff. And when I see 100 posts from 100 people, now I'm the 101st guy, I start thinking that, hey, everyone is posting by themselves. They don't know that even the community manager is reaching out and actually getting them to do that activity, right? So that is where the community you need a community manager who actually engages a lot, who builds a relationship. It's a very manual job, trust me, but it's the best job, because all those guys would become your best friends and they'll help you shape your community. They'll help you do your job better. Right. And once you start doing that, then you need people who will be good at content, because one of the biggest thing around social platforms or community platforms is content. A lot of times, you might be doing like, I'll post something you'll like, but how many times will you like it? And how many times will I post, right? But imagine I write an article saying that, 7 steps to build your community, and I share it only within that group. Then, typically you'll feel that, hey, this article is so cool, I should go to that community and check it out. Or like say, like, some other knowledge base, like let's say I have 20 ebooks around how to do better sales. I put it in my community. Now all these guys want to feel special about being part of that community, right? So this is where you need people who are good at content. And at a second level, you should get content even from your community, like having people actually post a lot of stuff and you making sure you curate it. And the last role that I'm talking about is on the event manager, right? Or like somebody who handles events. So events is a very integral part. Like, why do you guys actually go hang out in pubs or clubs or like, offline events, right? Because you build a much more personal relationship when you meet offline versus meeting online, right? Like if you have met me personally, you might have a better relationship with me compared to me, you seeing me in a Zoom call, right? And that is where events is a very big deal along with communities. So you can plan out a lot of offline events, or you can have micro events. Like let's say you're having a professional network, you might want to bring a lot of mentors, or you might say that, hey, 10 startups, why don't you introduce yourself? We'll only have exclusive 10-member session. First 10 people who sign up are the guys who get the chance, right? So that way you can kind of play around it a lot. So if you want to kind of get started and all, typically you can start with these things like, WhatsApp groups, Facebook groups. So there are some free tools as well available that you can use. But if you know your vision and if you feel that these things will not support, I would strongly recommend not using this for a longer period of time, especially if you're monetizing. if you're just doing it for free, charity and all, you can use all these social platforms because it's okay, right? Nobody really cares about it. Nobody pays for it. But if you're using paid platforms, I would recommend having a business logic around it, not like just doing it for the sake of it. So I did give some links around Community Software Buyer Guide. We kind of put together like 10 or 12 things that you should look at community softwares when you buy. And secondly, I put a case study around hiring and structuring your community team. So this really helps you understand how to go about it. Okay. So that's, yes, please.
What about this LinkedIn groups to Social Hub? Can you share me insights on that?
I didn't get you. LinkedIn groups on?
I mean, in the screen, these platforms can range from
I think it's a spelling mistake. It's LinkedIn groups, Social Hub.
Okay,
my
cool.
bad. Yeah. LinkedIn, Facebook groups, LinkedIn groups, Social Hub, like Jive, Yammer. All these are like different platforms that people.
Yeah, I understand. Second thing is this recording, and are we going to get somewhere the link for this particular?
Yes, that will be available. Yes, the recording, the presentation, everything will be available. We'll have a follow-up email sent to all of you.
Great. Thank you so much.
Then beyond this, if you guys want to personally connect, feel free to reach out anytime. Like I'm pretty accessible, right? But you'll get all the recordings and all. I believe in sharing knowledge. I think that's very important. And if you guys can build amazing communities, nothing like it. And let's move on to the step 3. I hope step 1 and step 2 are very clear to you guys now. Now imagine that you have set up your community or how to test, right? I think I'll tell you a very interesting use case. Now, I think a lot of you might be startups as well. As startups, a lot of you think that I have to go build a tool or a product and then, then only take feedback. You don't have to, right? Imagine I want to launch an organic e-commerce site. I don't even have to launch an e-commerce site. I can just go build a group around organic products. People who are interested in organic products, I can bring them together, understand what they want, what kind of products they want. Do they want it delivered to their home or buy online or physical stores, right? I can do all this research right over there. So a lot of you who are actually into startups or in the initial stage of your companies, you can use this as a fantastic way to engage your community and take a lot of feedback and build better products. And for those of you who are in mid-sized companies or bigger companies, right? For you, think of it like all the new initiatives you're taking. Like, for example, let's say Apple wants to launch a new iPad, or let's say, somebody wants to launch from Note 7 to Note 8 or Note 8 to Note 9, right? Whatever it is. So that way, typically, they can take a lot of feedback. So think of it like a innovation feedback and lead generation kind of thing for you, right? So different people have different tools. I'm just giving you.
I'm really sorry to interrupt. Are we talking about the step 3 here?
No, I'm just telling them some more examples on
okay.
how do they go about it, because in the initial stages, right, how to use these tools. So I'm kind of putting around that. And yeah, now going to the step 3, because I'm just trying to give as many examples around communities because community is the most misused word that nobody understands. I ask a lot of people saying that, hey, what according to you is a community, and they have like the weirdest of answers. So I'm just giving an example so that you can relate to a lot of these things. Step 3 is more about setting up your community. So when you're looking at setting up your community, this is where you set out, it's like your foundation to a building, right? Now imagine you guys, let's say have 1 crore in your bank and you want to go and build a new house for yourself, right? Now, let's say, how do you go build your community? What would you do? You would actually make sure that like the cement and everything is right, which was done in step 2. And after that, you build a very strong foundation. Now, what is a strong foundation for your brand, right? The point is not just about socially engaging, but also driving your brand presence. So for that, let's say you want to make sure all the branding, the mails, the newsletters, the communications, everything is in place, right? Because it's very important. Because the moment somebody logs in or signs up to your community, you might want to send them a welcome email. What all goes into the welcome email? That's so important, right? When somebody actually does something, what mail do they get? Or when somebody registers for an event, what do they get, right? You need to start thinking about your branding as a company. Because see, if I'm just running a hobby group of all cricket players just for the fun of it, I don't really care about all this. But if I'm actually running a company, it's not just me, it's my company's brand that's talking, right? So you need to take care of all the logos, all the messaging, all the words, all the links, all the marketing material, everything in place so that people feel that it's run by a company, it's run by a brand. So that is the first point there, right? Second is ensuring landing pages are set up because see, a lot of people, like the moment you, let's say, go to Social Hub, if I don't have a website in place, I just say, hey, log into Social Hub, you guys will be confused, right? But if you have like Social Hub has its own website, or let's say Amplus has its own website, you'll first go check out what Amplus is. And if you like what Amplus is doing, then you'll go into the community of Amplus, right? That is where you have to make sure that your landing pages are clear, and you should also tell them why they are joining the community. Right? If they don't know why they're joining the community, then typically it's like a sales exercise. Landing page is just like your website. Think of it in that fashion. Right? And the third point that we'll go to is make sure all the features are turned on and customized. I'll talk about what this is a lot of community platforms gives you a lot of additional tools and additional features. Like, they might have a jobs board that you don't want now, but you want to use it in 6 months later. Or let's say they have an integration with HubSpot that you don't want to use it now, but you want to do it sometime later. Right? So this way, a lot of add-ons, integrations, and all these are typically existing. And those are the features that you can go turn on and turn off based on how your community is shaping up. Let's say you want to hit 1,000 members and then you want to activate a jobs board. Let's say you want to hit 10,000 members and you want to activate, let's say, a mentor management, right? So it goes on case by case around each of them. And lastly, and most importantly, this is the most important thing, define community engagement rules and guidelines. I know so many of you actually want to get out of a lot of WhatsApp groups, a lot of Facebook groups, because you feel that the moderator or admin is doing the most pathetic job, right? So the same happens when you're running a community as well. They will start hating you if you don't follow a set of rules and guidelines. So every member who's coming in, they should know what the rules are, what the guidelines are, how to behave, how to post, what not to post. If you do a good job around it, then typically there's a very high chance that you guys build a community that really respects each other and has a culture in itself, right? That is where setting up your community comes into place. Now let's talk a bit in terms of engagement strategy, right? Engagement strategy sounds cool, but typically whenever you're talking about engagement strategies, what do you want to actually do out of it, right? One could be, let's say, like I said, these are some of the things, right? It could be customer feedback, you want to share knowledge, you want to discuss about ideas, you want to figure out your sales or referrals and all, right? So you want to do 100 things from your community. So based on the goals, right, each of them might have different things. Some of them, let's say you're running a big fashion brand, all you care about is making people know and just people coming into your community to just check you out. That could be just acquisition. Somebody might want to actually, work around activation, like, have them be part of it. I have some examples, like, there was a startup based out of Mumbai, which was a fashion startup. They actually they had like 15,000 influencers in the network. So they wanted to, post all the new designs to that influencers first in their community, which is private. And after that, based on the voting of the influencers, they only used to take the top selling ones and put it into the external market. So that way, a lot of them actually look at doing that. And, a lot of communities might even look at building e-commerce layer in the community itself. Like, let's say you have community with a payments layer. Like, imagine you're having organic products, but you can even buy organic products within the community itself. Right? That could be revenue driven things. So depending on what you are looking at, you can define your engagement strategy. And for this very much similar to what marketing is, right? You can Google search around, marketing funnels, sales funnels and all, and you'll get all the tactics around what to do around acquisition, activation and all. I'll not go deep into it because it's a typical marketing stuff that's available out there, or you can read even the book called Growth Hacking and all. There's enough content on internet basically. Right? So people go through this journey. So you need to also think about how do you make sure when they're new to acquisition, right? When they're very new to you, how they behave with you. When they just signed up to your platform, how they behave with you. When they're signing up for the 5th time, how they behave with you. When they're like, they like your platform a lot and they want to refer their friends, how do they behave with you? And now they want to pay money for you, or, money pay to use your community. It could be monetization at 2 levels. Imagine they want to just go buy your organic stuff. Or they might say, hey, you're running a membership driven. Now imagine, let's take a small example. Let's say I want to build a student network, right? And let's say each student pays 1,000 rupees and they are part of my network. So all you need is, you need a community platform with membership management activated, right? Where people can come in and pay, or you might be part of different associations like TIE, NASCOM, 100 other things, right? So each of there you go, you have an annual subscription fees, right? You pay that and then, you go forward. So that way, if you really know how to monetize a lot of these things, you can charge a lot and build a very good community, and you can make a lot more money out of it. I'll just talk a bit in the upcoming slides, but just want you to understand that, you need to understand what is engagement strategy, and engagement strategy changes by the type of action you want from your community. We can discuss around each of your use cases later, but I'm just telling you right now, but always happy to connect over email or LinkedIn or whatever, if you have any specific use case that you're thinking about. What I did is I put a link for you. Udemy, I think all of you know, which actually does a lot of online courses, right? So Udemy actually had a lot of content, but they were struggling around their teachers, because, it's a big deal for me asking, let's say somebody, one of you to, build a course, right? It's not a straightforward thing. So what Udemy did was Udemy created a Facebook group, and people were more comfortable with Facebook groups because initially they didn't know about Udemy, or they were like just exploring Udemy, because building courses is a big investment and they don't want to just spend time building courses. So when they joined the Udemy Facebook group, they saw that somebody else posted a course. They were asking, hey, what is the feedback, right? And somebody posted saying that, hey, I think you should change this slide, you should change this thing. And then people started actually connecting with each other, talking to each other. Then somebody else said, hey, I'm also launching my course. Do you guys want to review and tell me how it is? So Udemy used this as a top of the funnel thing. In the funnel that I showed you, they used it like for engaging just the instructors. Okay, they didn't get all the people who are buying the courses into this. They maintained a separate group for that. This group was only for the instructors who are building courses, and they saw 4x rate of engagement. And a lot of people started publishing a lot more content. That was one of the ways Udemy actually played the community game. You can read about it in this link. Each of them are like nice big articles, like case studies. So you can go ahead and read it once the slides are shared with you. Okay, and the fifth step, we have 7 steps in all. Okay, so the fifth step is more about acquiring a community. Now, let's say you have done all your basics, right? Let's say you took like first 2 weeks, 3 weeks, or whatever it is to figure out all your first 2-3 steps. And now you want to go acquire your community. What you do here is first be very, right? Because like I said, think of this like a marketing exercise, right? In a marketing exercise, what do? Let's say you want to sell to, let's say, women in tier 1 cities, right? You target your ads, you target your content marketing, everything to them, right? Same is the case with communities also. Let's say you want to onboard, a women who are working in corporates, and you're building a women network around people who are working in corporates, right? You want to put all your marketing efforts that are targeted towards acquiring that kind of people onto your platform. So over there are 2 ways, right? One is you reach to them, and second is they reach to you. So whenever both of these things happen through marketing, what you do is you be selective. Like even if you can allow 1,000 people into the community, don't allow 1,000 people, right? First, let's allow you allow 50 people or 100 people. Now see how they're actually engaging, and then make 100, 150, make 150 to 200, 200 to 250. So that way, slowly and steadily start understanding and building a culture, because if it's a smaller group, you can always manage the culture. Right? If it's a big group, people will not get that attention right away. And all this I'm saying is only for the initial stage, by the way, right? You can always scale it. Once you hit your 500 or 1,000 members and all, then, you already have a culture built. You have a story to tell. So people would actually come, they'll talk to others, they'll understand, they'll read the guidelines, they'll read the blogs, and they'll understand it. But your first initial 500,000 people, be very selective about who you want to bring in, right? And most importantly, get the right ones in and keep the wrong ones out. Okay, so it'll be a very good question to say who is right one and who is wrong one. So nobody knows who's the right or wrong one, but you can evaluate by asking the right set of questions. So when you're onboarding, right, give them a set of questions saying that, hey, do you work in corporates, right? What are you? Why do you want to join this group, right? I can put out a set of questions and get them in. And even after that, some people might be smart enough to go through. You be very smart about kicking them out. Don't worry about that they'll feel bad and all that stuff. Don't worry. If you feel that somebody should not be part of the community, tell them that, hey, these are the guidelines, you're breaking the guidelines, we have to moderate it, please don't mind, and you have to take them out of the community. That is where the third point is. You have to moderate very seriously. Don't think about being the good guy or bad guy. It's okay to be bad guy for making sure you're good to everyone else, right? Because all of you really, I think all of you might be liking some communities, right? And you might now just think about why you go to those communities compared to something else, because you might enjoy the content, you might like the quality of people, right? You might like what they do as a brand and the things and all. So think about that, like, put yourself into those shoes and work around it. And lastly, there's a very interesting tactic that I want all of you guys to use is work around incentives, right? Like, even if I say that, hey, I'll give you something cool, let's say I'll put a challenge for all of you and say, the top 3 guys get a free consultation on how to build their community, right? Now, suddenly, a lot of them would be interested to engage on your community, right? Somebody might be saying, I'll give a $50 Amazon gift card. Somebody might be saying that, hey, I'll give you a special badge, right? So let's say somebody, so even in your community, right? Somebody might be like a super influencer, like who is very actively posting. You want to showcase them. You want to tell saying that, hey, this is the guy who's the, rock star in our community. They'll start feeling pretty cool. And it need not be money, right? It can be just visibility. It could be badges. It's basically gamification, right? You want to make them feel good that they are part of your community. You want to make them feel that you value them, right? That is where all this kind of marketing kind of comes into it. So what I did is it's gamification. So you can also look at platforms which have gamification into the thing. Okay, Facebook and all probably just have started top poster and all. If you see the Facebook groups and all, right? When you post, it'll say top poster or loyal follower XYZ. Similarly, like, you know, some of the community platforms are also now offering a deep down gamification as well. So check it out, what really works for you. And I put an example of Quip. So Quip talks about, I mean, they are shut down now, but it was a community network for professionals. So they spoke about how did they go about actually building thousands and thousands of professional guys on a platform and really drive very targeted good conversations. Yeah, sorry. Yeah. So this is again a case study with a link. So sorry. Yeah. Deepak, I think you have to mute yourself, or if you have a question, please just let us know. So basically, that is where I have given you links because I didn't want to cover too many things in 1 hour, right? It's not practically possible, but I'm giving you enough things so that you go back and you can think about stuff. You can read in detail and absorb the content. And the last one I'm talking about is, sixth one is about engaging the community. So this is how you do it. Now, let's say you have an active Facebook group, WhatsApp group, or any other private network platform that you have used, right? Build your calendars. Make sure that you post valuable content and insight daily. Like if you're organic, make sure that you keep telling about organic stuff or organic things or organic recipes, or let's say organic information, or like, you know, some nutritional information, or getting some guys to come and share doctors about how organic food helps, right? So that way, this should be a kingpin in terms of engaging them. So they feel that they should have that fear of missing out. That is when they'll actually start being engaging in your group. And build a lot of valuable content resources, because this is more like instant gratification, right? You post and I go like. But imagine I don't want to always see that. I just want to go see, let's say I create 100 books resources, right, around how to, you know, build communities. Now you feel that it's a wealth of information. You feel it's a treasure of information, right? That way you can build a lot of valuable content resources on the platform. And then, like, you know, showcase your community members. Like I said, every week say that, hey, who are the top posters, who are the new members, what's happening, right? You can start showcasing a lot of these guys and they'll actually help you do a good job around it. So they also feel like they are part of the thing. You know, ask them, some of them saying that, hey, do you want to even volunteer and engage with another 5 people in the community and find out what's happening, right? Share responsibility, don't hesitate. Ask them saying that who wants to volunteer, who wants to help, take that help, right? And encourage your members to be active. So all your community members are just like you, and just like, you know, you don't go to platforms all the time, they also don't want to come to your platform all the time. So what you should do is, this is where your analytics will really help. Look at all the people who are not actually engaging with your platform. Look at all the ones who are very active, right? Who are kind of coming intermittently. Start bucketing them, right? Use analytics, start bucketing, saying that, hey, these are the guys who are running my community. These are the guys who don't at all care about my community. These are the guys who kind of seem interested, but they're on the border. Right? When you start bucketing people, and then, you know, you ping to them and say that, hey, Varun, like, you know, it has been 15 days since you came, like, you know, what is the thing? Like, you know, are you busy, or you are not finding value in the community, right? You can start doing those exercises so that you can target a smaller set of people. Or secondly, what you can do is you can do a marketing automation as well. Like if you know who are the people, right? You can start doing drip emails. If some of you don't know what drip email communications are, think of it like a series of emails, right? I send you a first email saying that, hey, Varun, we are missing you. Where are you? You know, just come back to this. Or let's say the second email goes saying that if you still don't log in, the second email will go saying that, hey, I'm just checking with you. I just sent you a mail, but you didn't respond to it. Just following up whether, you know, you want to come back and post an article, right? So that way, like, you know, think of it like and there are enough tech tools around it, so you can check it out. So even like HubSpot, you take a lot of the CRM tools and a lot of marketing automation tools, you can do it. And plan for events. You love it, hate it, it's okay. Like, you know, like how Amplus themselves are, you know, planning for a event right now. The event that you're looking at, there's a very good way of actually building relationships with people, because you're actually adding value. You're not just kind of marketing your product, selling your product, but you really say that you care about giving them deeper value. So it builds a better affiliation. So somebody from their team, or let's say somebody from my team, reaches out. Next time you might actually talk more nicely compared to if you didn't know us before, right? So plan for a lot of online, offline. I would say do blended, because let's say people in Bangalore or people in Hyderabad, get them together in Hyderabad, get them together in Bangalore, because online, even if you do 100 hangouts, they'll not connect at the level that they connect with one offline meetup, right? And use polls wisely, right? A lot of you think that I should know everything, I should do everything, and everything should work. It doesn't work that way. You should use polls. Keep asking. Say that, hey, what is the next event you want? What is missing in our platform? What do you think we can do better? Right? Be that guy who is like, I have no clue, but I want to run the community. Please help us out. Right? And then go back and show the results and tell them saying that, hey, most of you voted for this. Now we are taking this action. Right? When you do that, they feel that, oh, these guys are listening to my feedback. Right? And they'll start actually giving you more feedback. That's like the best thing. And then, you can extend it to your products as well. Like you might say that, hey, I'm launching a new marketing automation tool. What do you guys think? I want you to be the beta user. Would you mind actually seeing for half an hour and giving us feedback? A lot of them might say yes, right? And lastly, talk to your members. So it's not about just keep pinging people. What I'm saying is it doesn't have to be an occasion. It doesn't have to be a reason, right? I can always say that, let's say, hey, hi, like, been a while. I'm just randomly connecting with people in our community. Just want to talk to you, right? We're talking to 100 community members and, felt that you have a great profile. Just want to take your feedback, right? That's what it is. So how do you go about events and all? You can take example of Startup Grind. They're present in almost 170 countries, right? So they do almost like 170 events every month, and they run through chapters. They have local leaders and they monetize, by the way. All their events are paid. They're not free, by the way. Right? So they have built models around it that you can look at. So you can apply sustainable, monetizable models. And if you really put in the thing, you can actually monetize your communities. So lastly, I'll talk about driving value and growth, right? I'll tell you about how to go about it. So I just put an example of a case study around Salesforce for their internal thing, but like how Salesforce actually built their whole community value and community growth. But I'll talk on the monetization front because a lot of people haven't done a good job, or there are not enough case studies out there on the market. So we ourselves are actually building some case studies with our customers right now. So we would be sharing those once we are done with them. But I'll tell you what are the tactics around monetization. So depending on where you are, right? What you can do is initially, right? You can start with monetization or without monetization, okay? Like let's say your goal is just to get people on your community and build that initial base where you might say that I'm not comfortable enough right now, but let's say 6 months down the line, I want to introduce memberships. I want to introduce subscriptions, or I want to, share link of my organic products, right? So you can start that way. Or you can always start saying that, hey, we already are a brand. Now, let's say you guys know Your Story or Inc42, for example. If Your Story says that, hey, we are launching a premium network for investors, like, then all these guys in the ecosystem might say, hey, I'll pay that 20,000 to you because I know that Your Story is one of the market leaders in the space, or VC Circle for that matter, right? And they might join. So this is where a lot of you might actually have good relationships with a lot of people, but they don't have the time to build their network, engage their network, or monetize their network, right? That is where if you can actually be that person who can drive that community, build that community where they can connect, they can do business with each other. Like imagine, like think of all these guys, right? Think of Tai, think of, let's say a lot of these membership platforms out there, right? Where you go and say, I want to be part of Founders Network. I'm willing to pay 5,000 per year. But let's say you get one deal, which gets you 20,000 rupees. Now paying that 5,000 for that community platform is nothing, or paying that 5,000 to that brand is nothing, right? When you're able to get 20,000 rupees out of it. So a lot of people run a lot of these networks, right? BNI is one, Tai is one, right? There's so many people who run actually membership driven networks. So even for your networks, if you want to actually build membership networks, look at platforms which support memberships and subscriptions. Like even from our end, I think in Social Hub, we are launching it another couple of weeks max. But basically, when you do memberships and subscriptions kind of stuff, what happens is people can come, they can directly pay to your platform, and they can, you'll get the money and they start looking at the value that they get out of it. So why is monetization very important is because, you can't do charity for too long, you'll also shut down. So the point is you need to help your community understand that the money, if you're a non-profit or if you're somebody who's just doing it for sustainability, you can tell them saying that I want to hire the right people who'll give the right time to make sure it's a good network. Right? So tell them and explain them and how only those people. Don't worry about others who don't care about you because they don't care about your value prop. Right? So have those guys and do that. If you're a company that is looking at making money or an individual who's looking at making money, then you go, let's say you have a big network of service providers and you might say, hey, I want to drive business for all of you, but you have to be part of this network. right? I'll connect you with different founders here or XYZ. Then you might say that because I have all this network, I can run this network. You'll have 10,000 people access, but annually your membership fees is 10,000 or 20,000. You can. So that's with the memberships part. Now let's talk about subscriptions. So let's say a lot of these guys have content management, and that's one big piece that we found missing in most of the people out there, and that's what we are building. We're looking at how do we drive content subscriptions as well. Now let's say you want to build a lot of content. Let's say you want to build a collection of 100 ebooks around sales, and you want to put a subscription, let's say 200 rupees per month, right? And you keep adding it and building it up. Now imagine a lot of people will say that, hey, I have a basic membership, the premium membership, I'll get access to this. Or I don't want to take membership, I want to be a free member, but I want to subscribe to your content. That is where monetization can be done. Or other next level could be marketplace or e-commerce, like, where people can exchange businesses. Let's say you want to build like leads, for exchanging leads, there is a money to it. Or let's say you build a payments layer on top of it, where let's say you can sell your fashion clothes, or you can sell your books or whatever it is, right? You can do a lot of e-commerce. So think of this as an overall exercise among your things, right? So I'm talking a lot about technology because technology is the only way you can drive communities and grow communities. Because manually you can only go to some level because you'll have the disconnect among people. And the third thing is you can do a lot of exclusive deals, product sales, and pre-launch, right? Now, let's say OnePlus is launching. What they're doing is not just launching. They're getting their first million customers from all of you, right? So they do pre-launch and get their monetization well ahead before a lot. You might say whoever signs up for the first month, they'll get 50% off, 60% off. So you can share a lot of deals and all. Or you can even do referral based. Now, let's say, your organization that is curating a lot of market deals, right? You might say that, hey, I will give you access to deals, but whoever goes through this referral link, like let's say you are a graphic designer, you come and post on my platform that I'm interested to do graphic design. And if you get me a lead, I'll give you 10% commission, right? You can even do product driven commission kind of models around this, so that a lot of people would get business and you'll also make money out of it. Then gamification and ad revenue. So another feature that we were actually looking at was around driving ads, because now imagine you have 1,000 member, 10,000 member community. When you do Facebook and all, they do it because they actually monetize the advertisements, they monetize your data and all. But when you look at private platforms, a lot of them, they have a community, but they don't have monetization systems. So that is where we were also looking at. So we will be building kind of ad modules in the upcoming months and all. So when you have like big communities and all, typically what happens is, let's say you crack a deal with somebody saying that, like, let's say you're running an organic community. Organic brand now wants to come and be part of your community. They'll say, hey, I'll pay you 50,000, but, run me for 1 month, right? Give ads on these places in your community, I'll pay you. So that is where ad revenue can be a good source for a lot of you, where it could be through community platform, could be through your newsletters, could be through your offline events, right? All the things that I told you about tactical engagement, you can say that, we'll post all of you in here. Then, you can make money through that. Lastly, I'm talking about lead generation and affiliate revenue. This is actually a pretty solid model that a lot of them don't look at. Because now if you can actually, have a list of deals that you can drive, like let's say, a lot of companies, like, you take Social for that matter. If somebody comes and gives us a deal where somebody's, let's say your friend is signing up for a community, we might offer, let's say 10% of the revenue we are making, right? This way, a lot of brands out there, just go out and check. So many companies out there they have affiliate models in place, or they run stuff. So even if you have a very strong community, you can talk to these guys and crack affiliate models. That way you start monetizing really well, trust me. So it's a very good thing. So these are just some of the techniques, and beyond that, you can play around your own business models. You want to launch offline program and give them an online platform. I'll give a small example. So there was a lady out of Kerala who wanted to build a community around women entrepreneurs. Okay, so they reached out to us, and she just was doing just offline programs and charging, let's say 5,000 rupees, right? And she said like, hey, I like your platform, but I probably am just not, it might be expensive for me, XYZ. So we told her on how she can actually do a blended thing, right? How she can run an ad network, how she can say that, hey, instead of 5,000, we have a 10,000 membership now, but I'll give you access to a lot of content online. We'll give you an app where you can go engage with others, right? Do a lot of this stuff. So all these things actually, made her literally push the value prop up, and now she's monetizing a lot higher. So what I'm saying is, it's all about how do you play around with the business models. right? If any of you are like not clear and all that stuff, always happy to chat. But typically, every company can drive its business models depending on case to case. And obviously, there might be cases where business models don't make sense. Over there, you might do monetization models around fundraising, right? You might do monetization models around saying that, hey, I'm running a campaign. Can you guys support, right? This will cover the cost of our community for the next 1 year, right? Each of you please donate, right? That way you can start doing even those kinds of stuff, right? Nonprofits typically do that. So I kind of pretty much covered the 7 steps. If you guys are just curious about what community platforms like look like, I can just do one thing. I'll just take 2 minutes, not a lot of time, but I'm just showing you one example of our platform itself. It's a demo space, so it's not owned by anyone. So just trying to show you how like typical community platforms looks like. This is just our model, which is kind of constantly evolving. But think of this like, this is owned by CIDQ with their own private brand. I can literally go change my logo, change my domain. Like think of Facebook, which you can't control, versus Facebook you can control, right? So you can connect your own domain. Let's say you want to do CIDQ.com, right? You can choose whether it's a public network or private network. Do you need approval systems and all, right? Like I was talking about different add-ons and all that stuff. Like let's say you don't want broadcast like Instagram stories. I'll switch it off. When you go back, see, you don't have any broadcasts over here as features. But let's say you want to activate broadcast. I'll just go back, I'll just switch it on and it just works on the fly, all right? So see, now it's already live and I can pretty much see a story around it, right? So that way, most of the features out there, you can just play around. So a lot of these community tools give you that functionality, like, not just us. Even when you go out and check out a lot of other tools, everyone has their own models, but you need to check about who is flexible, who is not. Some of them give you only specific set of features, some of them give you flexible. So that way, a huge set of add-ons, integrations and all. That way, it kind of gets better and better, right? Roles, permissions. In Facebook, you just have a member role and admin role, right? Here, like, every single feature you can decide. You can say that, hey, one set of people can do polls. A different set of people can only do articles. They can't do polls. So that way you can literally segment your community into n number of levels, right? So some of these community platforms actually give you deep down, and this is where we also are good at. So that way you have user management and all. I'll not kind of go into the detail, but just to give you a sense, like, there's like your community, you have all your members, you have all your groups, right? You have divided your community into different groups. You have posted a lot of content, articles. I can browse people. I can check out who they are, right? I can look at what companies are in my network, what kind of collections, like in Pinterest kind of thing, or, you can build a lot of collections, events, right? And in the future, there'll be jobs board, X, Y, Z. So a lot of things will just continue to happen, but I'm just telling you, like, how all of these things work. And all this is like, one of the key things that you should look at is a lot of people are going mobile as well. So do check out, even when you check out, make sure that it's available on mobile. So some platforms offer mobile, some platforms don't. So make sure that, you check which one are the ones that are good for you. And depending on case to case basis, they do. So that's where I'll kind of leave it. But before we get into questions, yeah, just wanted to do a couple of things. These are my contacts. Anybody who wants to reach out can reach out. We do have a 14-day trial where you can even take a demo. You can just check it out as well if somebody wants to. And this is more of something that we did for the community. So what we did was we just created 100+ SaaS deals, because a lot of you might be going through ups and downs in your businesses right now. So what we did is we curated like almost 100+ SaaS deals links. So you don't have to give any information. It's up to you. You can just go and pretty much browse and check out all the deals we have curated from all the best SaaS companies out in there in the market. So you can go check out and get a lot of discount and offers from everyone. So all these are there. So yeah, I think I'll just kind of stop there. And I'll move on to the questions. I think I already took a lot of time, but this is a complex topic and I wanted to make sure you guys understand. Yeah.
Thanks, Praveen. Thank you so much. We have actually a lot of questions coming in. So I'll start taking those up. Yeah. So the first question that we have is from Rohit. He asks, can a single community hold multiple interests? For example, fashion and organic farming. Is it possible to strike a balance between both interests and hold the members together?
So that depends on, so you can, but you can't give them functionality in that fashion. So I think I'll just give you a small example. Probably I'll just take the example that we spoke about so you guys can quickly understand. Now, let's say you want to build a fashion network and you want to build a organic network, right? Now imagine all the members can see each other in these groups. Now let's say, some of them might be interested in fashion, some of them might be interested in organic. Like the question is, do you really want them to be together? Right? That is where a lot of times it's not recommended to put different things. I would rather recommend different platforms or different groups for each of them, but it is possible. Like for example, like on a platform, the way we solve is, you can keep them private or secret groups. Like let's say this organic group, but nobody knows about it. Only the people who get invited know. Or I go and switch off, let's say members directory, because members directory is where I'll know other members who are part of this who could be organic and all. So I'll just go there and I'll just switch off, the members add-on. So that way people can't even browse directories in the thing, right? I just switch it off and it goes off on the whole menu. Now, it can be done. Like platforms do support. Very few platforms in the market support. I think we are one of them who can actually pull that. But is it recommended? I would say not really. Not really. Where is it useful is, let's say you're building your student community, alumni communities and all. In those cases, still you can pull it off. But if it's like industries itself, I would not recommend.
Okay, okay. So the next question we have is from Ritu. She asks, what is your take on subscription-based communities in India versus globally? Do you see a trend there?
So global communities are much simpler. In India, people expect communities to be a charity, right? I think I hope I know the Ritu I'm talking about, but pretty much see, when you look at global communities, right? They set the rules from day one. In India, what happens is a lot of us shy away from communities and shying away saying that, hey, we want to build paid communities, right? That is the bigger problem with a lot of us, because we worry that 10,000 people will not join. But my question always is, why do you need 10,000 people? Why don't you just need 500 people who can actually pay 500 rupees to you, 1,000 rupees to you, where you can actually build a sustainable living if you really love building communities, right? So that is where what I'm saying is, just like startups, right? When we ask for money, we'll know whether the customer really wants to stick with us or not. So even with a bad idea to tell them, but definitely explain them. Say why you're asking for money. It's not just like, you don't care. Say that you want to hire better resources. You want to do a lot more things for them. You want to give them more value. They'll get a lot more updated information, X, Y, Z. So globally, people kind of accept that, but globally monetization is not a big deal. In India, monetization is a better opportunity compared to globally, because globally people do it, but typically most of them look at community platforms for engagement. In India, people are very transactional. Abroad, people are more engagement driven. For them, like, monetization is not like the biggest thing. They know that people will pay when they have to pay, right? It's not about, should I really put in or not? In India, it's a very taboo thing, right? I'm sure a lot of community managers are there in this call also hesitate to ask money from people. But my question is, ask money and be accountable for the money. And that's when I would recommend be sustainable, make a living, hire 10 more people. I think that's a great thing for you and India as well.
Sure. So I guess that answers your question, Ritu. Moving on to the next question, which we have from Anuj. He asks, based on your experience, what percentage of total members end up being MAUs over time in online learning and discussion communities? Any indicative percentage that you would help us with?
Okay, so that's a very difficult question. So I myself struggle to get a lot of data around it. But but at least based on at least some of the sources that I've looked at before, typically, your engagement percentages will be very low. So community typically falls into 2 or 3 categories. Okay, there are people who are producers, people who engage, or like consumers, right? And then people who are influencers. So typically, when you look at this, influencers will be a very small segment. Influencers will be like, let's say, people who are so active that everyone in the community knows that these guys are the rock stars of a community, right? They typically would be hardly like less than 1% or 2% of your community, right? And then when you look at the people who are producers, it will typically be 5 to 10%. If you're actually being able to hit those kind of numbers, you actually have a pretty active community, because 90% of them typically will be consumers. I mean, whatever you do with them, you can't do anything, right? It's more about having your analytics, having your leaderboard, and also analytics and all is like one of the things we are working on right now that we'll launch. So like, I'll just give an example how we are visualizing analytics to help you understand what to see in community platforms. What you can do is, using analytics, see who are the people who are coming daily, who are logging daily, who are being active daily. See people who are coming once a month, or who are posting articles every month, who are engaging on stuff. And then look at people who are consuming, as in they're logging in every day, but they don't do a single post, right? They fall into your consumer category. So when you start actually breaking it down, that's when this would happen. And monthly active users is based on the size of your community. So I gave you in terms of percentages. So you can calculate. If you have 1,000 member community, you can probably calculate and see how it is. And each community is different, guys. Like, I'll be honest, there are a lot of communities where they need a lot of engagement. There are a lot of communities where it's not like their core thing. They're okay. So it's not like you have to follow industry standard. Look at what works for you and what your community feels good with.
Correct. So yeah, the next question that we have is from Tina. She asks, what sources shall I use to generate more participants in our community except LinkedIn? So theirs is a free product, and she wants to know like what specific hacks can she use for lead generation and leveraging her website in the community. So hers is a free push notification platform. That's what, yeah, the details that we have.
Got it. Yeah, I think I probably know them, but yeah. So basically, one of the things you can do is see if you're having a platform that's giving for free. I think it's a good question. If you have a platform for free, think about all these as lead generation sources. Like, you know, like this event probably might have given them, let's say, 100 member or 200 member or whatever it is, number of registrations in terms of database, right? So there are multiple ways of lead generation. The book I would recommend is look at Traction. Traction is a book that you guys can read. It talks about what are the different 18, 19 ways of generating traffic. So whenever you're doing some of these tactics, and then you have sites like ladder.io and all, which give you a lot of growth hacks. So you guys can search for growth hacking tactics and all, you'll get a lot of information around it. But to give you at a very high level in terms of communities, what you can do is think about what is the value, right? I'll give you an ebook, for example, and you give my email ID. Sorry, you give your email ID. I do an event, you give your email ID, right? I give a discount to you, you give your email ID. I'm giving a special offer to you, you give your email ID, right? Like, you know, I'll give you a small example. Like even if you look at the SaaS deals that we have done, right? Though we haven't enforced it on people, definitely we would love to see if somebody really likes what we're building, right? If they want to give their email ID, right? There's a campaign that 50 deals from our end. Another 50 deals just came from companies because when they came in, they saw that, hey, do you want to add your deal to the list? They can just go fill up the form and it gets added, right? So it's all about actually thinking about different marketing campaigns that really work for you, because we realize that just like we are kind of one of the companies which is figuring out, there could be hundreds of other companies who are like, you know, shutting down, losing money, XYZ. So we thought, why not let's aggregate all the deals and share. So based on the product and all, push notifications and all, for example, look at who are the target guys you want to do, see what are the giveaways that they would love to do, and based on that, drive traffic back to your site. Because even if you look at this, right, like for example, again, like I said, you know, this is on our site. The slash link is on our site. We even, you know, just told them what we are as a community. You know, we even got around 3 or 4 leads just in the last 1 week. People who came and tried out just by seeing this. We didn't sell to them, we didn't market to them, nothing like that. They just came here, they saw that, hey, this is cool, and they just wanted to see, hey, what is this? And they went and checked it out, right? So it's all about, don't worry about selling, right? One of the best advice I can give to a lot of you is don't worry about selling. Think about how do you give value. If you know how to give value, they'll buy you, because what you need to understand is just like you are people, they're also people. And when you talk to them like people, they'll really appreciate it rather than thinking them like a person who's just a monetary source, right? Think like, you know, you're engaging with people and building relationships with people. That's my suggestion.
So I'll take up.
Just a quick note. Like I just shared my LinkedIn profile in the chat, and I also have sent a few requests for many people. And in the invite, they were asking some questions. So I just kept Social Hub webinar. So I just want all those guys to just accept, or if they can deny, that's okay, fine. Just want to let them know. Like I have sent a request.
Sure. Like, you know, even Amplis is one of them who listed their deal, right? So it's just like, you know, how you run campaigns. Again, like case-to-case use cases, I think it's a marketing exercise. But yeah, thank you so much. Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. So I was actually saying that we'll take up, I think, 2 more questions because we are running out of time. Before which on the terms of, you know, providing value, we are actually running a deal and offer for people who are into sales marketing, as most of us would be in this community. I just wanted to share my screen to tell about that offer, and then we'll be moving ahead with the last 3 questions. Probably.
Sure.
So Praveen, if you can let me share the screen.
I'm just doing it once.
Yeah. Okay, so this is the offer that I wanted to discuss. So basically this offer is for people who are into sales, marketing, or into recruitment or lead generation. So this offers brings you 2 products together from which you can generate leads from websites and LinkedIn connections, which is like Amplis Sales Buddy, which helps you generate leads from the website. And People Finder, that helps you generate leads from your LinkedIn connections and your second degree, third degree connections. So we are offering both these tools at 50% off. With Amplus Sales Buddy, you can go to any website that you want and you get details about the decision makers. You can ask us for any advanced intelligence you want. You can get personalized intelligence based on what your business requirements are. For example, Mayuresh, who is attending the event right now, he can get his deals for his business, his software business from here. He can like keep searching for different websites and connect with different decision makers who would be interested in buying products from him, and get tech stack details of the companies that he is prospecting to. Then, for example, we have a tool called People Finder, which helps you connect with different people in your LinkedIn network. So, for example, Sudhir, who is into recruitment, I was just going through his profile. He might find it really interesting for reaching out to different people in his network and then connect with them. So these are the two tools that we are providing at 50% off. So anybody who is interested can utilize this offer, and I would request actually Lakshman to share this particular offer link with all of you so that you can use that.
Yeah, he did share the link.
Yeah, thank you, Lakshman.
Yeah, so I think on that note, actually, it's a great time, guys. Like if any of you guys are looking at taking a lot of deals, right? It's a fantastic time because a lot of companies are giving so much of free stuff away. If you're like looking at experimenting, if you're playing around and all, you would be surprised with the amount of stuff that companies are giving away. Like, just go check out this link. We also kind of have pretty fascinated, and that's where we aggregated all this. Like people are giving 3 months off, 6 months off, 50% off. A lot of these companies which never even gave deals are also giving for the COVID time, right? So that is like a very powerful thing. So check out all these things, see what is relevant for you, right? So similarly on Amplus Note as well, check it out. And if that's a tool, definitely take it now when you can buy.
Amazing. So moving ahead, we have the next question actually, which again Ritu wanted to ask is, you mentioned in a question when on onboarding, but won't that create a friction in the onboarding process when scaling up, especially when product-based communities?
Yeah, fair enough. I think it depends on how long is the onboarding process, and does your platform have metrics, right? So onboarding is just an A/B testing. Like if you are building your own platform, you can do a lot of A/B testing as well. Because let's say you put 3 questions and let's say you do 2 questions and see which one is actually going through, right? So there are multiple reasons actually. Like a lot of communities don't worry about the volume. They put the onboarding because they think there is a value to it. So in the initial stage of your community, what you can do is you can always dial it down a bit and be more manual in moderation. But as your community gets really popular, right? Like let's say you're running a network of all founders who are 1 million plus revenue,
Yeah.
right? Other founders would die to be part of it. Even if you ask them 10 questions, they'll fill up. Even if you ask them to fill for 15 minutes, they'll fill it up, right? It all depends on what kind of value you're offering in your onboarding and why do you need that information, right? And if you need any extra information, don't put it, right? You can ask them later. Just put what is the most important things that you need in onboarding to get them in, to approve them, or to just get your basic profile set up. That's all how it should be. Even like when we are setting up our own onboarding process, which is now in the flow, right? The initial onboarding steps are only just 3 simple small steps, right? After that, we are literally going and going deeper into like a very long set of steps, but they're already in the platform. So if you tell me your use case, Ritu, like you can message me on LinkedIn or something, I can just have a look at it and give you more targeted feedback.
Sure. Amazing. So I'll just take the last question that we have from Rohan. He asks, what are the main components to look for while onboarding a potential team member?
Okay, that's great. So you're talking about, like, I'm assuming it's a team member, not a co-founder. So if you're actually talking about team members, like typically whoever wants to run communities, right? First and foremost, look at 2 things. They should be super social. They should be somebody who love people, who talk to people all the time, right? That is one thing that you should look at. The second thing you should look at is somebody who actually has, who is good at content, okay? I would really recommend that. I mean, see, you can find all these categories in one person, or you can find in multiple people depending on how much budget you have, right? Somebody who's like, marketing and content, because they can actually market even within the community without people feeling that, right? Those guys actually are very good at content. They publish content, they engage with a lot of people, say, hey, Devarati, why don't you publish an article? Hey, Varun, why don't you publish an event, right? So that way, these guys should be there. So look at people who are very socially engagement. So one of the ways you evaluate is look at even the Twitter, Facebook, and all, right? Or if they have past experience around how they're engaging. And also one thing I'll tell you is offline community managers might not be good for online community management, right? They are different skills, but they can be good, but they'll have a learning curve, because managing online communities is a different ball game than managing offline communities. The themes are similar, but these are some of the ways you can look at, like, look at how they currently run their social handles, how do they post, how much engagement are they driving from their own social things, right? Because if they can do it for their handle, they can probably do it for your community as well. And look for relevant expertise in the industry also, right? If they are like, let's say they are somebody from, science industry coming into a, let's say, if they're going into something like farming, right? And if they are like somebody who's into space industry, right? That guy with that background will not fit into this background, right? If I relate to that space, if I'm a marketer running a marketing community, I'll be killing it. Versus if I'm a random guy trying to run a marketing community. So yeah, that's what I would recommend.
Okay, I think that's pretty much it from my side in terms of questions. Thanks, Praveen, for joining us today. And I also wanted to share a really good news that we have. We have reached a 5,000 plus Amplus sales buddy community and 500 plus being supercharged community today. So thank you all for whoever joins us on this and help us do these events and join us in our being supercharged community. We actually are doing, as I told you in the beginning of the session as well, that we are doing an event which is called B2B Binge. It's for all marketeers, salespeople, recruiters who are into the B2B space, entrepreneurs. They can join in. I think Lakshman has shared the link with you all in the chat. Do join in. We have 12 speakers. We have a 5-hour long event. It's going to be super power-packed, amazing one. So I hope to see you all there. Thanks again, Praveen, for joining. And please do reach out to him in case you have any questions regarding community building or how you can do it for your business particularly.
Sounds good, and Amplus itself is a good case study. I think probably we should do one.
Sure.
So, anyways, thanks guys for inviting me, and thank you so much for being so patient and listening. I know has been almost a couple of hours, but thank you.
Thank you, Praveen, and thank you, Debarati. Quite an informative webinar.
Thank you, Tina. Thanks so much. One last request I would like to have: can you please, all of you who are there, switch on your video screens, so that we can take a screenshot and we can share it with our community members and with your community members as well. So whoever can, please switch on your video cams, please, so that we can take a screenshot of all the people. Okay, thank you so much.
Hi guys. Hi Praveen.
Hey guys, hi.
Finally, Varun's face can be seen now.
Yeah, I think we'll have another hangout now after the session. Anyways, I think I'll connect with you guys offline. I don't want to keep everyone waiting, right? I think it's important.
Okay.
Thank you all. Thank you all so much. Thank you, Praveen. That was really wonderful session. Like, I think everyone enjoyed it. So keep on engaging in many channels. So we'll keep on coming with a lot of events in coming weeks. And like we said, we are also hosting a big virtual webinar. So I'll looking forward for everyone to be part of it.
Sounds good. And we are planning a lot of community manager driven webinars and all that stuff. So we'll keep all of you guys posted.
Okay, let's keep in touch. Okay.
Thanks everyone. Thank you for joining.
Have a good day.